What is old heat and new heat? We're going to discuss what these terms mean, enhancement of ruby and sapphire and the different treatments and price points, and how you should protect yourself as a buyer. What do the terms old heat and new heat mean? They mean nothing, absolutely nothing. No gem trade association, gemological laboratory, or gemological organization is using a standard of old heat or new heat. So these terms are being used to sell ruby and sapphire by people that may not even really understand how they're using them themselves. They are often used to sell to less experienced buyers. So let's take a look at a minute at some of the uses of the term old heat. Some of the criteria for old heat is heating the ruby or sapphire without the use of any powdered chemicals, of which case borax is the most commonly used. So some of the people saying old heat are saying it's thermal enhancement, but there's no residue present. And residue present on a gemological report, if there were no fractures or cavities on the surface, then there would be no residue, even if any borax was used. Anything in the pits would have been removed by acid or polished off of the surface. So they cannot be sure that no powdered ingredients were used like borax. But with a gemological report, they can know that there's no residue present. So what does new heat mean? Some of the people using this term refer to new heat to mean that there is residue present, that it was heated in the presence of a powdered material like borax at higher temperatures, that the ruby was heated to higher temperatures than normally used in heat treatment to alter the color of ruby in the presence of a catalyst, a powdered material like borax, so that the borax can enter the fracture, act as a catalyst, help for this new growth of ruby inside the fracture, to heal the fracture and make it far less durable. But some of the borax is trapped in that fracture. So it'll get thermal enhancement with residue present. There are different degrees of residue measurement that we do with the microscope. H1 is the least. Then you have H2, and depending on the laboratories, it can go H3 through H5, even some glassy appearing residue in the cavities, all lowering the value to some degree. There has also been use of this term new heat to talk about diffusion treatment. This is totally misleading. Diffusion treatment has been defined by gemological organizations, gemological laboratories, as a separate treatment. It is diffusion. Usually titanium, creating a blue color that's surface conformal, very shallow of the faceted stone, less than 0.5 millimeter, or beryllium that can be diffused partway through the stone or all the way through the stone and affecting a variety of colors. Again, this is not new heat. This is diffusion treatment, enhancement. And the beryllium diffusion, you can often get your orange and yellow colors are the most common beryllium diffusion treated colors. Pink orange, like a Padparaksha. But very concerning today, blue color of sapphire. This has been in fact affected and enhanced by beryllium diffusion process. So to put beryllium diffusion in this category of just calling it new heat, it's really, in my opinion, misleading to the buyer and should not be done. I've even heard of a practice where they're calling glass-filled ruby new heat. This is totally misleading. And why is these combination of treatments under one term misleading? Because these different processes and classifications affect the value. When it says residue present, it is a lower price point, same size and quality as a thermal enhancement, and no residue is present. Now, once you go H2 and below H2, or if a cavity is filled with this glassy appearing residue, the value drops even more. And if it's a diffusion process with titanium or beryllium to affect the color, the price point drops even further. And the glass-filled ruby, it drops to the lowest. So just saying old heat, new heat, you are not given enough information to determine the value category that you're in. So I really do not have any faith in these terms. I don't have any faith in how they're being used. So don't compare your ruby and sapphires on the market like old heat, new heat. Compare them by gemological reports. No evidence of thermal enhancement. Evidence of thermal enhancement. Evidence of thermal enhancement, residue present. Diffusion treatment, glass fill. That's how a professional buys. That's where a gemological report is essential, as opposed to terminology that's being used in the industry.